Well, leaders from 8 nations linked to the Amazon basin are meeting in Brazil to try to secure the rainforest's future. Hundreds of people from indigenous communities have marched outside the event to draw attention to various threats that are facing that region. It is the first summit in 14 years, and it comes at a time when scientists are warning that the destruction of the rainforest is approaching a tipping point. Now, Brazilian President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva has called the meeting a landmark initiative to save the Amazon.
We had not met for 14 years. It is the first time we meet here in Para-State, and the first time in a context of a severe worsening of the climate crisis. It has never been more urgent to resume and expand this cooperation. The challenges of our era and the opportunities that arise demand joint action.
All right, we want to pull in now my colleague, Nicole Rich. She is our Colombia correspondent. She is currently in the village of Belém. Nicole, it's good to see you. I understand that indigenous people are protesting. Talk to me about how they feel about this summit.
Yes, indeed, indigenous people have been protesting here, but quite peacefully. It is their moment because these are the people who feel the consequences of the destruction of the Amazon rainforest directly. It's not only areas that have temperatures rising 2 degrees above the normal, it's also that trees are gone, that water is poisoned by mining activities. So they want to make sure that their voices are being heard, not only through protests, but also by attending the social dialogues that have been taking place here in the city of Belém before the summit started. And there were actually hundreds or thousands of people who joined from different countries to make clear that they need destruction to be stopped. The extradition of fossil fuels, etc., in their forest needs to stop now, not tomorrow, not yesterday. Now is the moment.
And are those very steps and decisions, are they being negotiated right now, you know, basically to stop exploiting the lungs of this planet?
The general plan here is to come to a consensus that all the countries that share the Amazon forest can agree on a zero deforestation policy, for example, that sees a stop into deforesting the areas that are of so much value to the whole international society as well because of climate crisis. That's one point. There's also an intention to seek to support more bioeconomies that are more sustainable and shifting away a bit from the extraction industries. But this will also be one of the main points that will cause some rupture here, I think, because these are very important industries, economically speaking, and to just focus on something else will be a major step, but also a major challenge, of course. And then socially, it needs to be justice. People who live in the Amazon rainforest need to have an economic advantage, but also they need to be seen. And this is also a very top priority, at least from Lula, because for the first time, indigenous people actually have a say. They were at the dialogues and they're being taken into account of, hopefully.
And today we got confirmation that July was the hottest month on record on our planet. Is that playing a role in these talks? I mean, is that helping people to bridge their differences?
There are, of course, political differences here between the countries. One of them, for example, is the topic of the extraction of petrol. The same President Lula, who's opting for a change in energy policies, hasn't shared his very public opinion about what will happen to the extraction of petrol. He's been very ambiguous about it. And this could be kind of, an issue between the different countries because it's a huge industry. The countries want to earn money, multinational companies want to earn money, but it's actually not the step forward if you think about the ecosystem that we need to save here. And it's coming to a tipping point. So if we reach that tipping point, the forest will not only degrade, there will be no bouncing back for the forest and hence won't be for the people connected to it.
Yeah, that's a very good point. I understand that you did a report about cocoa farming in the area. Talk to us about that.
Indeed, we went to see a small cocoa production here close to the city of Belém on one of the islands that surround the city. And this could be an example of how bioeconomy looks like something that the leaders here want to support more in the future. And this would guarantee partly to have a sustainable production and on the other hand also help people, of course, to have an income.
Bright and yellow. This is how the cocoa pod should look when it's ready for Izzy Costa to harvest.
This is of good quality. It is still a bit acidy though, but once we ferment it, that acidity will go away.
Izzy Costa has been growing cocoa for 40 years. It's a self-made family business. She invested her own resources in farming sustainably. On her 7 hectares here on the island of Kombu, she follows the rules of agroforestry, combining agriculture with the natural environment, without chopping trees or chemical fertilizers, and in sync with nature. Political leaders in the Amazon want to boost sustainable bioeconomies to protect the forest.
We need leaders to really sign an agrarian reform so that small producers have access to microcredit, which has incentives, such as help with machinery. It's not to become a big industry, but small, traditional industries.
Small industries like Costa's process everything themselves, from the cocoa bean to a proper regional array of chocolate that she's proud of. And an investment could also give nature some respite from mass exploitation and help regenerate degraded areas.
20% of Brazil's Amazon rainforests have been affected by destruction, mainly due to agricultural activities. And projects like this here, close to Belém, could show the way to a more sustainable agriculture that at the same time also provides income for local communities. But as ever, keeping the balance is paramount.
The demand for products from the region, such as cocoa, is on the rise. And that increases the risk of creating a monoculture that further damages the forest. Biologist Patrizia Pinho says the concept of bioeconomies needs to strongly focus on local communities in order to work. These communities are also victims of the destruction of the Amazon.
They want to have autonomy to the decisions that concerns their territory. They want their future generations, their kids, to be able to see the same products or practice that they already have. So I think that's something that we should be really keeping in mind. They want their livelihoods to be maintained.
So quality is more important than quantity to preserve what we all benefit from. That's also the way to go for Izzy Costa, a cocoa farmer who has long understood that the future of a healthy rainforest will determine the future of humankind.
All right, I want to bring in now Carlos Nobre, a senior researcher at the Institute for Advanced Studies at the University of Sao Paulo. He was in Belém until just yesterday. It's good to have you on the program. The president calling for urgent action, but indigenous people are protesting. What is that going to do to the chances of tangible, real success being achieved at this summit?
Good morning to all. Well, of course, we hope the summit will agree on getting to zero deforestation, zero forest degradation, zero fires all over the Amazon very soon. Countries have agreed in reducing deforestation to close to zero by 2030, but we need to speed up that. Peoples in the Amazon, they hold 25% of the forest, so they deserve a lot of protection. They deserve to be benefited from maintaining the forests, and we have to respect the indigenous people's knowledge. For thousands of years they maintain the forest, so it's right, really, the indigenous people to claim for support of all Amazonian countries for maintaining their culture and maintaining the forests. I'd
like to get your opinion on the role of Lula da Silva, the president of Brazil, in this. Jair Bolsonaro was considered certainly not a friend of the movements to stop deforestation. Lula da Silva, he is considered a green friend, if you will. Is he enough, though, to make tangible success possible?
Well, we hope so. 20 years ago, when he was president for the first time, starting 2003, he also invited Environment Minister Marina da Silva, and then there was a clear reduction of deforestation. Deforestation 2004 was gigantic, 28,000 square kilometers, and then by 2012 it came down 83%. So now, in 7 months, we have a reduction in deforestation in the Brazilian Amazon. Brazil has 61% of the Amazon forest. We had a reduction of 43% in deforestation compared to the first 7 months of 2022 under the former President Bolsonaro's government. So we are really seeing these policies that President Lula promised to be implemented in the Brazilian Amazon. So we are optimistic that Brazil will certainly reduce very rapidly deforestation and forest degradation in the Amazon.
And are you optimistic that the topic, efforts to save the rainforest, will not become even more politically polarizing than they already are? I mean, there are lots of comparisons made between Brazil and the United States, with the environmental movement being a polarizing one in a culture struggle, if you will.
Well, yes, of course, there is a cultural struggle, globally speaking, because we have to reduce emissions of greenhouse gases by 50% by 2030. We are not moving in that direction, globally speaking. So, but I think all Amazonian countries, in fact, they want to get to zero deforestation before 2030. So that's why I think, at least in this context, and also when we have polls here in Brazil, more than 90% of Brazilians want to preserve the Amazon. So I think politically we are going to be able to succeed. And also in other Amazonian countries, this is the case. So we are hopeful that we are really going to achieve this goal of getting to zero deforestation.
Yes, I think there are a lot of people around the world who are rooting for you, that's for sure. Carlos Nobre with the Institute for Advanced Studies at the University of Sao Paulo. We appreciate your time tonight. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm joined now by Raul Vale, Director of Public Policies at the World Wildlife Fund in Brazil. Raul, why are governments now rallying to protect the Amazon?
Well, first, Jair, it's a pleasure to be here with you. So the Amazon rainforest is at risk of reaching a tipping point. It has already lost 70% of its natural forests and savannas, and the best science tells us that if more 5% is lost to industrial agriculture, mining, or other type of land use, it can start a process of natural degradation that is reversible. So if this happens, there will be very severe consequences for the economy and well-being of most South Americans. That depends on the rainfall that is produced by the forest to keep producing food and even industrial goods here in the region. But the bad news is that not only South Americans will suffer. So as the Amazon is a huge carbon sink, if the tipping point is reached, there will be an immense carbon leakage that will make it impossible to keep the global warming below 1.5 degrees, putting the planet into a dangerous zone. So the Amazon Summit, it's good news. So for the first time, all the countries in this region are coming together to decide how to avoid this tipping point. So we hope that tomorrow, when the final declaration will be made available to the public, we will be able to find concrete steps to stop deforestation, to stop illegal gold mining, to promote indigenous and local community land rights, and to increase the number of protected areas. So we congratulate the President of Brazil, Colombia, and all the Amazon countries to come together for the first time in 10 years to try to stop the tipping point.
So there's a lot at stake for all the Amazonian countries and the rest of the world. Now, at this summit, what's on the table? What is being discussed and what is likely to happen?
So it's likely to happen to come a declaration that talks about how to end deforestation. We hope that there are concrete measures to stop deforestation by 2030, because otherwise we are not going to stop the tipping point. We hope that we can find concrete measures to stop illegal gold mining, that it's a huge problem in the region. Many persons that are contaminated by mercury and other types of contamination. And so we need common policies, we need the countries to work together. And so this is what we hope that will come up from this meeting in Belém.
A short answer, please. Is there unity among the Amazon countries that the urgency is there to fight the deforestation?
I think that there is unity, so all of them are aware that if a tipping point is reached, there will not be economy in South America, so all of them understand that they need to take steps to stop the deforestation. But we don't know if there is going to be a concrete target to stop deforestation among all the countries. We hope so, but we are not sure.
Thank you very much. Raul Vale, Director of Public Policies at the WWF Brazil.